So it's been probably about a week since I've last posted, and I had mentioned before that probably not going to be posting a whole lot of videos here for a little while because of having the wedding coming up. The wedding for my daughter is this weekend, so we're getting really close now. But I wanted to give you a quick update of how things have been going for me. Um, Go back a little bit here. The last 2 to 3 weeks, I have been talking about how I've been doing really good with getting some exercise in, some workouts where I've been doing sprinting, or there's really 2 days a week I've done some sprinting and also some push ups on those 2 days. And then a third day in the week, I did push ups again. So push ups 3 days a week, sprinting 2 days a week for a good 2 to 3 weeks. I've been doing that. For this last week, I didn't do any of that. I really didn't get much exercise at all, mostly because I didn't want to take a chance of tweaking something, getting injured, whatever, right before the wedding, and having injury type of issues to deal with at the wedding. So kind of backed off a little bit. Once the wedding's over, I'm going to pick back up again with doing that. But I wanted to give you an update on everything else. I've been eating really clean. I haven't even gone to a restaurant. So, there's always the issue of going to a restaurant. You don't know exactly how they're cooking it. You don't know if they're using seed oil. They could even say they're using butter, but maybe it's cooked in the same spot that they used seed oil previously. So there's some of that game mixed in or whatever. Whatever it is, I haven't had any of that to deal with. It's been all just home food, mostly beef, burger patties, ground beef, steak, that kind of stuff. And I've done that here for the most part for 2 to 3 weeks, but especially the last week, it's been really, really clean with that stuff. And the interesting thing is I've actually lost about 5 or 6 pounds here in the last week. So I don't know if it's just the difference of not having any restaurant food at all. Um, I don't know. I mean, there's not a whole lot that I can come up with that is different. I will say, obviously, there's that where I haven't had any restaurant food, but also I've been really, really good with having fermented foods in really a diverse amount of fermented foods, just very little bits of different fermented foods that I eat with my meat. And one thing I notice is that I definitely feel better. My gut feels better. I feel happier. Interesting because I've always felt with carnivore really, really good. Like I feel like my gut feels pretty good. I go poop pretty normally. And I'm a lot happier of a person. I used to be more of a sad person with mild depression, that kind of stuff. So I'm definitely a happier person. But lately, the last couple of weeks, I've been even happier. I seem to be smiling more, that kind of thing. So there's definitely those types of changes that I'm seeing. I've also been noticing changes in my body composition. So yes, like I said, there's been 5 or 6 pounds that of weight loss, but the difference really for me is some of the changes. Um, my arms, for instance, I, it just seems more definition, I guess, to the muscle, right? It's it's not quite as flabby of a muscle, if that makes sense. It used to be a little bit more rounder, I guess, and it seems more defined. So my thought process is that maybe, there was some visceral fat in my muscle that is starting to go away. So that's something that I'm noticing. My belly, where I still have weight that I need, or fat, I should say, that I need to get rid of, seems to have trimmed down some. And I've gone another notch on my belt. So there's definitely been a lot of good things that I have noticed here recently. And again, I've been for at least 2 to 3 weeks, probably closer to 3 to 4 weeks now. I've been really doubling down on Dr. Sean Omar's protocols. So a lot of that course I was already doing with carnivore diet. I was already doing fermented foods, but I've been eating a more diverse amount of fermented foods now, um, and making sure that that's consistent with every meal for sure. Where before it wasn't necessarily every meal, right? Um, been very, very clean on what I drink, just water. Um, I would say up until a couple weeks ago, there would be the occasional drinking something like a bubbly or something that maybe had a little bit of natural flavor to it, that type of thing. Hasn't been any of that stuff. So that's been another thing that could make a difference. Been very careful with any cheeses to make sure that they're all very aged fermented cheese and not anything more fresher type of cheese. Um, and I think that has a difference in terms of the dairy, just the lactose, that kind of stuff. So I think there's those types of things. But so I've done those things. There's the sprinting or the high intensity type of activity, which is a lot of maximum effort, short burst type of activity for a couple days a week, right? 2 to 3 days a week. If there's push ups or whatever, sprinting, whatever. I've done those types of things over these last probably 3 to 4 weeks, right? Grounding, I've tried to do as much grounding as possible, walking barefoot, whatever. I have a grounding mat at my computer desk, so I tend to sit there barefoot with my feet on the grounding mat, that type of thing. Getting as much sunlight as possible. Doing some sort of cold plunges, but not really cold plunge, but in the shower, churning the water very cold at the very end of the shower, that kind of thing. So I've been doing a lot of those types of things, which are different things under Dr. Sean Amara's protocols. And being as consistent as possible, I feel like I'm really seeing some good progress. I think I would even say that I think that I see a difference in my face. Maybe it's not a big difference, but I think a little bit of a difference in my face. So I think that I see a lot of changes, a lot of good things, mentally, health wise, all that stuff. So that's kind of where I've been at here. And, I mentioned had the wedding coming up this Saturday. My daughter's getting married. It's our first wedding. We had the second wedding in the fall, but this is the first wedding. So it'd be good to get this one over with, make sure everything goes smooth, hopefully, and all that kind of stuff. And then have a little bit of time to relax as we start to prepare for the second wedding. But anyway, so there's that. I will not have a live stream this Wednesday because of the wedding coming up here. So there won't be a Wednesday evening live stream. I will be back next Wednesday evening at 8 p.m. Eastern time. So I do hope to see you all then. And until then, hope everybody has a good week.